to our first real episode of our podcast, The Esperience. My name is Marijn.
And my name is Stijn. We hope you've got an idea of what we'll be doing from our introduction episode, so we can welcome our first guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Laura. I am 22 years old and I'm in my final year of ELC. I'm studying Spanish, language and society, and also politics and society. And I was the chairman of Board 7 of Esperience.
Welcome. We're very happy to have you as a first guest. And you're indeed the previous chairman of Board 7.
And we know you as we're the board that came after you, so we know what you've been up to the last half year. But many others might not, so we'd like to ask you some questions.
Okay, cool.
So we haven't seen much of you this year. You're currently not part of any committee, so where were you?
Where was I? Well, I was actually in Valencia for my minor abroad. And I did join some of the online activities, but I also wanted to focus on my time in Valencia. So that's why I wasn't part of any committee. And also it's a bit more difficult being in a different country. Mm-hmm. So but I hope that I can join again next year.
Sounds good, and I can imagine Spain has to be very nice, definitely better weather than here. Do you have any upcoming plans for the next few years?
Well, I would really like to finish my bachelor. That is the first plan. And I would actually like to take a year off and, start working. Don't really like the online classes so far. So I think I would like to, work for a bit and then start my master's. I don't know which master yet, but I'm sure that in the upcoming year, I will figure something out.
Yeah, the online classes.
It's a bit difficult.
It is difficult. And we know some people listening are still doubting whether to apply for the board, but maybe you can help them a little. So why did you apply?
Well, there was not really a specific reason. I was part of the travel scene the year before I started my board year. And I really loved working in the group and working for Esperience, organizing things for Esperience and their members. So doing a board year just kind of felt like the right next step. And also I saw it as an opportunity to learn more, to improve myself, to learn things also that's not really, doable within our studies per se. It was a very cool opportunity to learn more about working in a group and things like public speaking or just other things. It was very nice. And
as we said, you were the chairman. And is there any specific reason that you applied for chairman? Did you apply for chairman, or were you surprised with the outcome? Yeah,
I did apply for chairman. It was my second option actually. I applied first for commissioner of promotion of PR. Chairman and commissioner of internal affairs. And that was just because I also like the idea of, the creative side of Commissioner of Public Relations. And also because I did see myself as a chairman, but it felt like a very responsible and, just felt like a very cool thing to do. And I wasn't sure if others would see me at that position as well. So I was a bit, reserved in that sense. But I was very happy that I got the job because I think looking back on it, that was actually my first choice out of the positions that I applied for. But I was still surprised. I remember when Board 6 called me, and I think they remember as well if they're listening, that I sounded very surprised when they called me. And it was just because it was very cool. And I wanted to be in the board kind of no matter what position, because I just really wanted to work for Esperience and do this board year. I was very happy with the outcome.
Yeah, nice. I think that's very, for me, relatable because I applied for the same 3 positions. But
really?
Yeah, but in a different order.
I don't remember specifically.
No, I looked it up last week,
okay,
so I remember now.
Good.
Yeah, I can really relate to the social aspect and the creative aspect of the other ones as well. One of them I got.
Yeah.
So it's very nice that you got what you wanted, so to say. Yeah, well, I actually kind of already answered why you applied for chairman.
Yeah.
And also with the other ones. Were there any other things that you were interested in?
Out of the board here or out of the specific positions that were available?
Yeah, both, I guess.
Both. Well, like I said, I really wanted to be part of the board. I also liked other positions. I think every position within the board it's like good side and like traits that would really suit one very well. I think just for me, the 3 that I applied for suited a bit better. For example, I'm not very good with numbers. So for me, being treasurer, I'm very sorry, Stijn, to say this, but
shame.
I don't think that was the best thing for me. But yeah, I think every position has something really cool about them, and it's just figuring out for yourself where you would see yourself fit best and be a bit more, confident in that.
Yeah, I definitely think so as well. I really like numbers. That's why I applied for treasurer. And I think all of them have some interesting parts, some less interesting parts. I'm not specifically talking about my position, but some might.
Sorry.
So, as like some people might not exactly know what you do as a chairman. So, can you maybe explain a bit, like what you do in a week or something like?
Yeah. Well, there are many things that you do, actually, and it's also being part of the board is not just being within your position, but also, working together as a group. But as a chairman, especially, you just have to keep everything running, basically. You have to make sure that everyone in your board does their tasks, and you also have to lead the board meetings, create the agendas of the board meetings, and also do the same for the general members assemblies, the GMAs.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you just create the agenda for that together with your board, but you're just the one that is in charge. And also during the general members assembly, you have to lead the meeting. That was very cool, very new. And besides that, in my year, I also had contact with other study associations a lot. I went to a study association meetings. I talked with people from the university council, so that was also very cool. And I was in contact with our study advisor from ELC. There are many other things as well, but the general thing is just to make sure that everything is going well.
Great.
And you mentioned a lot of things that you do, and a lot of things for basically in front of a lot of people, especially before Corona happened.
Yeah.
Does that make you nervous a little, or do you grow into that? How does that go?
Yeah, I was kind of nervous at first, but I think the more you do it, the less scary it gets. And also I just had a very supportive board that was just like, you can do it, you got this. And actually it's just a bit nervous. I was a bit nervous before my first public speech, so to say, for the first years. You see everyone in the room and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. But then actually after 2 seconds, it just kind of feels natural and it's all fine. And I think the same with, for example, I did some speeches at our events just to let everybody know what the upcoming events are. And those things kind of at some point just become very natural and just normal. And I also like doing it because it kind of challenged me to do public speeches. That's something that, apart from, like doing presentations, I haven't really done in my life. So it was a good challenge for me, so to say, but it wasn't uncomfortable or anything. No, I actually think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I can really relate to that. Obviously, I'm not the chairman of the board, but I was the chairman of the introduction committee last year. And before that, before I applied for chairman of the introduction committee, I never thought I would be able to speak before large audiences. But last introduction period, we had this activity, I think it was Meet Your Language, and I spoke before 70 first years, and I was really nervous beforehand, but once I got into it, it was really fun actually to do. So I think it's really something you grow into.
Yeah, nice. Exactly. And like you said, you just kind of do it, and then it just feels normal to you, rather than, okay, I have to do this, and well, what did I do just now? No, it's actually just it makes sense, and if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. So being part of the board, you have to organize certain things and mostly be present at all of them. Well, at most of them. How much time of the week did you spend on this?
It's different per week, I would say. It is a part-time job, so to say. So I would say around 20 hours per week, more or less, but sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less. And it also depends what, the amount of activities you have and the amount of appointments you have with different people. But I would also say that some of the time that I spent on my board year was also mainly fun activities, and that didn't really feel like it was a lot of time, so to say. It didn't feel like working as much, because if you're on at a social with friends, etc., it doesn't feel like you're there because you have to be there. It's more like, okay, this is kind of cool, this is my job, but also, I can hang out with Esperience and my friends, and that's just very cool. So yeah, it didn't feel like it was a lot of a lot of work.
Yeah.
If you were spending a bit more time than the part-time.
I can agree. I mean, we're only halfway there, so to speak, but I can relate. In some people say like, oh, isn't it a lot of work? And I'm like, not really, because a lot of the things you do are, well, a lot of fun, like you said.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned that in the previous introduction episode as well, that it might cost some time, but by far most of it is, in my opinion at least, fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also really rewarding, in my opinion. It's fun to see that everyone's having fun at the activities you organize.
Yeah, that's also something. Like if you've organized something, you can see people enjoying those things, and then the amount of time you put into it doesn't really. Well, I wouldn't say it doesn't really matter, but it's more like you don't really think about it anymore. Mm-hmm. It's not the first thing that you look back on your board year and be like, oh my god, it was a lot of work. No, you look at the fun memories you created with everyone, and I think that is also very important for people to know.
Yeah. I personally think that's one of the things that I will be looking back to, but of course I'm not there. But I think so
at some point.
At some point. But you kind of already touched upon this a little bit. You mentioned that some positions might have, might fit well with certain personality traits.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, for chairman, which ones would that be according to you?
Well, I think in general, it will be good if you can keep a good overview of everything. So, for example, I knew a lot about what every person in my board was doing, what was going on in the association, and I think also in that sense planning is very good. Also, if, for example, something doesn't work according to the plan that you established with your board, you kind of need to be flexible and be able to see where you can change things in order to make it work. I also think public speaking is important, and for those who are a bit like, that is scary, again, you will learn it. It's fine. It's just, it is something that you do. And I think also it's, I think the overview and planning is the most important part, but also to make sure that, you keep your group together, to make sure that everything works well within your board, and to help each other out whenever, you need to help. And also if some are like, oh, I don't know how I can finish this task, just to see how you can solve it. I think solving problems is also a very good one. Problems sound a bit intense, but any difficulties or challenges, in that sense.
Yeah, great. But I think going into the board interviews and such, and applying for, among else, chairman, you had, I think, a certain idea of what a chairman would do, but are there things that you didn't expect were part of the job, but turned out to be?
Not really. I talked a lot to other chairmen and other board members from previous boards. I think that also helps, because then you can just chat to them and ask about anything. And I think in that sense I was very well prepared. And also you have many sessions with the person that is currently then the chairman, who will be taking over their position, about the position. So you will get training in that sense. So I think that also helped very much. For me, that just wasn't something that I wasn't prepared for. I think you just have to do it, and then you will, see things and you're like, oh, a bit surprised, but not like, oh, I didn't expect that. It was more like, oh, you never know what it's like until you actually do it. I think that's more or less it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, helping, like talking to other people really helped. So I know that you guys are doing boardwalks. That might be good. So if you're listening, go on the boardwalks.
You can still apply for a boardwalk.
Please do. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can just have like an informal chat about the position and just see whether you would like that or not.
Yes. So as a chairman, there's also, next to you there's also like a vice chairman. Yeah. Last year that was Annemarie. So how does that work? Does the vice chairman help you with certain things or... Yeah.
Yeah. I think it differs per board, but in general, what me and Annemarie did was just that I was the chairman, and if I needed help in any way, she would help me. So, for example, I had in around May and March, between March and May, my granddad wasn't doing very well, and he died in May, and it was just very nice to know that there was a person to take over all my tasks, and she knew what was going on, and she could take over my tasks for the time being, which was very nice. But also sometimes within the board or within the association itself, I wasn't very sure how to do something or how to approach certain things, and then I could just go to her and be like, hey, what's your opinion on this? How would you deal with this? And that was very nice because she was kind of like my go-to person when it came to chairman things. So it was also very nice. And of course, she took over the GMA when I was in Spain. That was also very helpful. But yeah, in general, we just had the idea of me just being the chairman and she helping me with anything that I needed. I don't know about you guys, because obviously you're the vice chairman.
I am. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Like when Mark, our current chairman, like you said, doesn't really know how to maybe approach something or wants to have another look at something, then he just asks me, and then I give my 2 cents. So
exactly.
Yeah. So it's very similar in that way, and of course, I think as well, every sort of duo of a chairman and vice chairman create their own little thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the right word, but they do their own thing. They figure it out themselves how they relate with each other and who does what. Mark hasn't been sick or anything yet, so I haven't really had to take over and step in, which is nice. I mean, it's also good for him for not getting sick, but but for me sometimes it's I think I can do it, but it's still something that I haven't done yet. Yeah.
But if it happens, it's nice that, within a board, there's a specific person who will take over. Also within the board meetings that we have, for example, if I was sick, then Annemarie could take over, and it wasn't okay, who's going to lead the board meeting today? Mm-hmm. There was just this one person who would do it, and that was very nice to know, and she did a great job. So, yeah.
Yeah, we have some of her meetings online, and sometimes Mark's Wi-Fi disconnects or his computer crashes or whatever, and then it's okay, I think I have to step in for a few minutes.
Well, exactly. So you did do it.
Yeah, very short periods of time.
Well, the next question is, I think, one of the more standard ones, a very cliche probably, but I really like the question. What's the most valuable lesson you learned during your year as the chairman?
Ooh. Sounds so pretty, this question. Valuable thing. Well, I think in general, for me, it was just being able to work together in that group and create something together, and the public speaking, but also just speaking up. And I think there are a lot of things that you will learn in your board year that can just help you in the future, and you're able to do and plan your time much better than you did before. And there are a lot of aspects to it which I think are valuable, so I can't really pinpoint one thing, but just in general, I think I learned a lot from it, and the working together in a group, and organizing things. It was really cool. Yeah.
Nice, great. And the board is often seen as something very serious. I think most people will think it's more like a part-time job, which you have to take very serious. And of course it is, but there are also a lot of fun sides. And maybe you can tell us something about, like, for instance, bonding with your fellow board members. I mean, you're a group of 6 for a whole year. How does that impact the relation you have with these people?
Yeah, well, that is true. Like, a lot of things look like they're like the formal side. Like, it's a part-time job, but it's a lot about the fun activities as well, like you said. And with my board, we did 2 courses actually for bonding or like team building. That was very cool. But also we just made sure that we, talked a lot to each other, had dinners together, did fun activities as well. So not just doing the board meeting and then leave again, but like have dinner together. And I think the more time you spend with each other, you aren't just board members anymore, you're friends as well. So I think that's very nice. And also some of the board members, we went to my dad's, for example, for a weekend. That was also very nice. And it's important also to spend time with each other outside of the job part, to say. So yeah, that was really important. And yeah, just spending time with each other, that's the most bonding thing you can do, I think.
I think it's the same for us, though it's a little bit more difficult because of course we try to do things in person, well, not like with the 6 of us, but with like smaller groups.
Yeah.
So something nice, which is still nice to do, but it's a little bit different. But like you said, like you start more or less as like colleagues or coworkers, or how you want to say it, and you turn also into like friends as well. I think that's a really nice side to it.
Yeah, and it's also just very important because you need to understand the person and get to know them really,
exactly
how you work together, but also on a personal level.
Yeah, well, it relates to like the social aspect of doing a board, like friends and stuff. And something that I don't think many people know about is about consties and getting to know other associations. So can you tell us a little something about that?
Of course. Well, consties, for those who don't know, very briefly explaining it, it's like a social where you go and meet other boards, and you basically congratulate another board for becoming the board. Well, how many times can you say board in one sentence? But for example, with our constitution drink, other boards came to us and they congratulated us, and it's like a big party. People can drink beers and they congratulate us with a gift or like wine that we have to drink. But and the other hanging out with other associations happened a lot during those constitution drinks, so that was very nice. But also we organized some activities together. For example, we went on a boat through the canals of Groningen with some associations with the boards, and that's also very nice. And it's just also cool to know more people who are doing kind of the same thing as you are. You can learn a lot from other associations and how they do things, and that could be like something very simple, like, hey, how do you create an IGTV or something? Like, you can do something very simple questions, but also more like difficult questions that you can just talk to each other about it. So that's very nice to do that. And most of the things are very informal and just fun activities. And it was very cool to meet new and more people, in Groningen.
Yeah, I was like, wow, we haven't been on a boat with other people yet. But then I was like, oh wait, never mind.
We haven't done anything with other people yet.
We went to drinks with Twist.
Yeah,
Twist. We did that. And we had the hitchhike activity, which wasn't hitchhiking necessarily. It was here in the city, like geocaching thing.
That was so cool.
Yeah. So that's when you also see some other people, which it was nice.
It was nice to finally see some other people. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also when you know more associations, for example, those that we do activities together with, it's also nice because you get to know the board, but also their members. And I think, for example, the hitchhike trip normally is one of those examples where associations come together, and I think that's nice for both the boards and the members.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we are running out of time, but before we end, we have one last question. What advice would you give the next chairman and like the next board as well?
Ooh, also a good question. I think in general, just have fun. I think that is the most important thing. This is an opportunity that's super cool, and you will learn a lot of new things, but in general, it's also just a lot of fun. So enjoy the times that you get to spend with your board, with the members, and organizing some real cool things. And yeah, be happy.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being here, for answering our questions.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. It was a pleasure. And I think that this might have really helped some people as well.
I hope so.
Yeah, you've really given a look behind the scenes, so to speak.
Yeah, and we also want to thank you. Of course, you were our previous board, and we are here now because of you. So thank you for that.
It does help a lot.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, and we also want to thank all of those who tuned in. We hope this has given you some more insight into what it means to be chairman or part of the board. If you want to apply for chairman or any other position, please do so. You can do so until Sunday, April 18th. Send your motivation letter and CV to bestuur@svsp.nl. You can find the email address on our website as well.
Yeah, and if you have any questions or feedback as well for our podcast, please reach out to any of us on our social medias, which will be, I think, in the description of this podcast, but we're on Instagram and Facebook. Tomorrow we'll upload the next episode, which will be about the position of secretary. So tune in tomorrow to see who the next guest will be and hear more about the position of secretary. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Once again, a huge thanks to Laura Yska for coming up on this episode. The Esperience is created and hosted by Stijn Bakker and Marijn Meijer. The script is by Marijn Meijer and the podcast is edited by Stijn Bakker. The cover art is by Christa van Nol and this podcast is owned by Study Association Esperia. For more information, go to our website svesperia.nl. Thank you so much for listening. We are available on all platforms that you can listen podcasts on. So see you tomorrow and tune in for the next episode of The Esperience. See ya.